Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I have an unboxing from the Cubicle. This wasn't sponsored, everything was purchased, but there's a couple things in here that I'm super excited for, including some lubes and the biggest cube that I've ever owned. So let's get right into it. So I have a couple different things here. I bought some lube. This is the Angstrom Dignitas and Gravitas. I've never used these types of lube before, but I'm super excited to see how effective they are because I've heard really good things about them. And then I got one of these Cubicle covers just to use for videos in case I'm doing a competition style like skit. Here's a mat. So for the computer that I'm using right now, my desk doesn't really have a mat to set everything on. So I figured this could be useful for cubing and hopefully just looks pretty sick. It'll also make a good background for the camera up top. I'll get that out now and we'll throw it right down just to see how it looks. All right, yeah, not too bad. So now let's do the unboxing of the cube. What we got here. Honestly, nothing super crazy. So they have this just tutorial for cubes. It goes all the way up to a 5x5. So that is probably not something we're gonna end up using. I guess if you can solve a 5x5, you can solve this 11x11. But let's see what the actual cube looks like. Just looking at the cube, it is quite a bit bigger. Pieces look about the same size actually, but I wanted to make sure that I got a stickerless 11x11 so I wouldn't have to worry about the stickers peeling off. So hopefully I don't have to worry about that in the future. But let's do some first turns. Ooh, wow, that feels nice and smooth. That's actually much more controllable than I imagined it to be. So I do believe, yeah, so this is the Magenetic version that I got. But I'm wondering how much, if at all, I can feel it locking into place. So yeah, I do feel that magnetic resistance there. Obviously this isn't something that you're gonna be speed solving, but no, it turns pretty smooth. Just do an algorithm with it with a 3x3 and hopefully it just doesn't blow up on me. Outer layers are definitely going to be the easiest to turn just because they're the largest. But let's see here, if I try to do the parity algorithm, I want to make sure I don't just pop pieces out on the first turns. Okay, not too bad. Still remaining intact. Okay, cool. Survived that, not too bad. Let me do a checkerboard pattern just to see how that looks. There's a little bit of catching as I'm turning that. I do wish the colors were a little bit more vibrant. They do seem a little bit dull. It's nothing like super crazy, but I do wish they had a little bit more of a bright tint to them. There we go. Doesn't look too bad with that. I'll get this back into a solid state and then look a little bit at the mechanism just to see what we have. So they have this Yuxin sticker at the top right corner just to make sure we know what company it's from. But let's see what they have for the pieces. I don't know if we're gonna be able to see a whole lot. All right, this view is good for the unboxing, but I think we're just gonna do an overhead view. I think that'll work much better for the rest of the video. Like I mentioned, this is the Yuxin 11x11, so it is the largest puzzle that I have in my collection right now. Previous largest was this 9x9, but looking at the size, it's got it by about, a ½ inch or so. So a pretty large cube here. I am interested in taking a look at the internals, but I also don't want to break it. So I'll give this a go for a little bit and probably give up fairly quickly so I don't break anything. Honestly, I'm very impressed with the company for coming up with a design such as this. Now the cube itself is pretty tight. You obviously have to have it like that just to make sure that it's not pulling apart on you while you're turning. This is like the second closest to middle layer. It definitely does not turn as good as some of the other layers. There's a little bit of catching going on. The closer you get to the outside, the easier they turn. That is to be expected, obviously. This like next to middle layer isn't too bad. I don't know if that's consistent or maybe there's just a little bit of catching in this one layer on this side. I'm going to try to make or attempt what looks like a cube in a cube pattern on this, and then when it doesn't work, I'll just scramble the whole thing and hopefully it looks pretty cool. After that, I'll probably do a solve and then give my final thoughts on how it feels. Probably won't post the full solve, but maybe I'll do a little time lapse of it. All right, here we go for the cube in a cube pattern. One layer done, not too bad. All right, not starting off good for the second layer. Boys, we might be cooked already. Well, that was I was pretty close, I'm not gonna lie. I got about a layer and a half in, and then I failed. So it looks like it's time to scramble the big cube. Interested to see how this is gonna look compared to the 9x9 scrambled cube. I'm wondering if I'm gonna regret starting to solve this at 9 o'clock at night. Definitely gonna need a good soundtrack to listen to in the background. I'm guessing this will probably take between 40 minutes to an hour. I have no idea. I may give up early, and then just let you guys know what time I finish it the next day. But we'll give it a go and see what happens. So I will say the cube does turn fairly smoothly. I don't feel any crazy misalignment when I'm turning. I am being careful to make sure everything is aligned, but I think there's some instances where not everything's perfectly aligned. So it actually is turning fairly well for this big of a cube. I'm actually pretty impressed. Yuxin, good job. Yeah, I'm not being too careful with moves here. I'm not really solving anything. I'm just scrambling, but yeah, not too bad. Well, guys, I think it is time. I'm just gonna do a solve and see how much my hands hurt after that. All right. Okay, so I'm pretty sure I have over an hour of video left. I have no idea how long this is gonna solve me, but I'm just gonna let the camera record, and then if the camera dies, it dies. But I'll show you the results after. Okay, let's get started.
Throughout this solve, I kind of explain how I feel that the cube is turning at the moment, but during these time-lapse sections where I'm not really talking, I'll let you know how I feel after the fact. I will say I am genuinely surprised by this cube. I talked about it a little bit before, but the overall build quality of it and the smoothness of turning is quite amazing. I'm finishing up the first center here, but I'll give you my thoughts more after.
All right, team, a little update here. So 7 minutes and 28 seconds is the final time for one center. Let's just keep on cooking and see where we end up.
So I've solved this cube once, as seen in the video right here, and I'm working on solving it again, but honestly, after I solved it for the first time, it's significantly smoothed out. So when I turn it now, even for the more middle layers, kind of like I've described before, they're not catching nearly as much. It's very smooth turning all throughout the cube, which is really cool to see. I feel that as I continue to solve it, the cube will get smoother and smoother. I'd actually be interested in doing an entire solve again, just to see how fast I can do it, because I'm actually starting to really recognize the pieces where they're at in the cube. The reason it took me so long to get that first center was because I haven't really dealt with this big of a cube before, and honestly, just finding the correct position for the center pieces was the most difficult thing. Coming up on the last two centers now.
All right, guys, last two witches. Here we go. Sorry, last two centers. Correction.
So yeah, honestly, when I first started solving, the centers were just giving me not necessarily trouble, but it was a lot harder to recognize that. When I do get to the edges, it's going to be a lot easier and it goes much faster.
All right, final time for centers is 30 minutes and 25 seconds. At least things will be turning a little bit easier now with the edges. It's just a matter of getting into the right position and then figuring out what layer it's in. It's definitely a lot easier with this because you just find two of the same color pieces, get them aligned, and then just hope that you're turning the right layer when putting them in. And most of it is going to be outer layer turns as well, so it's going to be super nice.
Now it really feels like I'm in the home stretch here. The edges went so much faster. Kind of like I said, all I really need to do is find the edge pieces, and then there's one of two ways that they can kind of go together. So just get them going the right way, and then I can slice them together. So I kind of solved the white ones first just because it's easy just to put them on the bottom. Right now I'm finishing up the parity, and then here is the 3x3 stage for the remainder of the cube. So this is going to be finishing up the video when I solve this cube. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate everything that you do, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks. Bye.
Oh, don't. All right, not too bad. Honestly, I was not expecting to get that time. Let me show you what we got here. Pardon the mess if you were able to see anything. Finishing at a time of 38. Finishing at a time of 38:28. That is the 11 by 11 Rubik's Cube. Not too bad.